Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another impromptu live with myself, Andy the Gabby Cabby, live from the garage. And I thank you all for joining me on this very chilly Wednesday evening. And chilly is the word, isn't it? Particularly if you're a pensioner. Before I go on, as always, I just want to give a shout out to all the subscribers. Thank you very much for your support. All of you that have joined us, over 100,000 now. It's wonderful. I appreciate it very much. And long may it continue. And a shout out to all my channel members as well for all your support, encouragement, and everything else. I was sent well, I suppose you could call it a newspaper article off of one of the online rags, as it were. And when I read it, I thought to myself, do people actually know the specifics of this? What's going on? And I thought, well, they need to know. So I thought, I'm going to do a quick live tonight just to share this newspaper article with you. You know, with Westminster and ourselves out here in the big wide world, it's pretty apparent that there is a very big disparity between us and them with regard to entitlement, with regard to resources we all have, and who pulls the strings. And I love that Preston journalist comment. Rachel, Thieves and Starmer are a disgrace. Absolutely. If anybody hasn't heard of that Preston journalist yet, then please go check his channel out. I'll leave a link in the description below. He's absolutely great. Young fella, sits in his, looks like his front room. Is that right? Telling it how it is. And I think it's wonderful stuff. And we need more people like him, me, and everyone else doing just that and holding the establishment to account. Well, if you look at the politicians, they have a very large salary, pretty much over £90,000 a year. I think it's 92 at least, is it? Something like that. And then they have an allowance with which they can pay staff members to run their office and everything else. And then you hear stories about them paying for second homes. Even a certain ginger Labour high-ranking politician putting a pair of iPhone earpods on expenses a long time ago. It all doesn't paint a pretty picture, and they wonder why the feeling of public anger is as it is. Chris Carr, Rachel Reeves said she struggled to live on an MP's salary, £88,000 at the time. £88,000, and it's a struggle. Okay, most of us seem to get by, but it's the pensioners I'm worried about. Now, this article that I was sent was entitled, or the email that it came on was entitled, Rachel Reeves claims £4,000 and then takes our pensioners' winter fuel payment from them. Now, I think apart from that, it gives us a very good illustration as to the overall problem and the overall system within that place. I mean, Jimmy Russell, we're plebs, so the dog crap under their shoe as far as they're concerned. Yeah, that's how we're made to feel, isn't it? But have a look at this. Let's go through this together and then we'll see what you have to say. Rachel Reeves claims £3,700 in energy bill support before axing the winter fuel payment. The Labour Party Chancellor and fellow MPs used over £400,000 of taxpayers' cash to heat their homes before axing the £300 sum given to pensioners. And there you go. Rachel Reeves claimed thousands in energy bill support before axing winter fuel payments. It's been claimed the Labour Chancellor and fellow MPs used over 400 grand taxpayers' cash to heat their homes. Now, this is the bit right here. That's the bit right there that I've just highlighted, okay? Miss Reeves claimed £3,700 of taxpayers' cash towards her energy bills before axing winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners. An analysis reveals the Chancellor and other Labour MPs spent more than 400 grand of, well, our money heating their own homes over the past 5 years. The past 5 years. MPs who now earn a basic salary of £91,346 can claim accommodation costs on expenses, provided they're for a rental property and not one they own, subject to an overall budget cap of £29,000 in London, 19,940 elsewhere. And there's another one here, Liam Byron, Labour MP for Birmingham and Solihull North, claimed 18,400 over the last 5 years. This is the most out of any MP in the Commons. Simon Francis of the End Fuel Poverty Coalition charity group said, as MPs warm themselves at the public expense, the reality for pensioners will be very different this winter. If Labour MPs are so keen to save money for the Treasury, maybe they could look closer to home for savings rather than taking from pensioners in need. Now, this is the thing again, isn't it? They're taking, you know, when you can claim expenses or anything in a company, any business, you look at what you're allowed to do and then you look how you can play the system. It happens all of the time, doesn't it, in any business? But in this instance, you're talking about thousands upon thousands upon thousands of pounds, and they're doing to themselves what we should be doing, keeping warm. And the way we're being told that they're getting their money to do this is nothing short of disgraceful. And this comes out in the press, and it just leads us to think, what the fuck is going on? You know, and I want to point out, I'm not inciting anything. I'm not implying anything. I'm literally bringing to you information which needs bringing out into the public domain. Now, one of the things that I believe in, never take the first news article at face value. Always check. Go and have a look in a few different places. And this is literally all over the place. And I've titled this Rachel Reeves, but, you know, it's all of them. And I go back to what I said at the beginning, the salary and expenses to maybe fund basic travel, fund your office, pay your staff. That's as far as it goes. And if you can't manage on £91,000, all right, an MP's job is very stressful. I get it. All of these hundreds of thousands of people coming at you every day with their problems. But how can you say you struggle on 91,000? No. And they wonder why we feel the way we do. Anyway, back to the article. John O'Connell, Chief Executive of the Taxpayers Alliance, said taxpayers are tired of taking lectures from politicians unable to practice what they preach. Failed policies have driven up energy prices. Well, this net zero lunacy is not helping, is it? To levels that families are struggling to meet. Yet MPs are insulated from the soaring costs. Our representatives should remember their voters when deciding policies. John Trickett was the only Labour MP to vote against the winter fuel payment. I don't know if John Trickett is anybody's MP, but remember that. He has posted a message on social media explaining why he defied the whip. He said many more pensioners will be pushed into poverty as a result of the cut, and the consequences of this can be devastating. The government should be raising money from the wealthiest in society, not working class pensioners, he said. So you can see there that as well as taking that money from our pensioners, you look at the expenses that they're claiming. Now, I wonder if you put in some kind of freedom of information request into government, into the relevant departments, what that would come back with. Probably we can't tell you, but it might be worth a try by somebody somewhere. It really is disgusting. Never mind two-tier policing, never mind all that sort of thing. What about two-tier society? There's a complete disparity between us and them, isn't there, really? I don't know what the answers are. And they seem to hold all the cards. I think with regard to electricity and heating bills, particularly when you're older, particularly when you're more reliant on it, you need to look at your bills. You need to look at what's going on and try not to be worried. Try not to be scared of that pressure that they're piling on you. there are ways you can talk to these companies. And I think it was Julie sent me a link saying that some of them, in the wake of this, were going to shell out a couple of £100 to some of their customers to try and help out where they can. So there probably is mechanisms available. But there was another thing as well in the papers today where they mentioned the bus pass. Whatever next. And then there was a thing a little while ago about council tax, 25% discount, all these little things which will amount to, well, rather a large problem going forward. Well, that's the end of my presentation, really. I want to go through and have a look at some of your comments. I've been going a bit mad. We'll see what some of you have to say. Lynn McEwen, prescriptions. Yes, that is a very interesting remark, actually. What can happen with them? As you get older, things start to fall off, don't they? Things start to break, and you might need a tablet to help your body do something it couldn't do as well as it could 20 years previously. I mean, I have three medical conditions, two of which I have to take tablets for. And I'll tell you what two of them are. I'm not going to tell you what the third one is. But one of them is high blood pressure. And the other one, I don't have a thyroid. So I have to take thyroxine. And I have a little card which entitles me to, certain concessions with regard to my medication. And I'm sure other people have got that too, because at the end of the day, if I don't take them, I won't be here anymore. And all of these pensioners, I know a guy that I think takes about 15 tablets a day. And you can imagine how much that would cost if I did anything with that. It's crazy. What's this one? Michael. All we need to do is to tell the king to disband Parliament. It's that easy. But the problem is, Michael, I understand what you're saying. I'm not sure whether the monarch, look at the £20 notes. Where's the crown? Has the power to do that. I know he can hire and fire a prime minister, but are they all cut from the same cloth? And you know what I'm saying. Del, what about if they put £100 on poll tax on top of the winter fuel taken off people? Well, yeah. It's a never-ending cycle of shit, isn't it, really? I mean, the other thing as well, there's been some papers coming out because they take the winter fuel allowance away, the winter fuel payment, and then they raise the state pension, trying to make themselves look good. Not everybody's going to get that amount. And by the time you account for tax and other things, they're not any better off. It's typical government sleight of hand, as always. Yeah. There's a video that Paz did earlier, and he wasn't very complimentary about him. I'll go check that out. Where are we? Peter and Pete, a single pensioner receives no less than £218 every week. £218 a week. As I said in the live the other day, your retirement needs to be thought about years before, decades before, with regard to private pensions and everything else. If you don't do that, when you get to 55, 60, 65, and you're getting into that area where you're thinking about it, and you're reliant on the state pension, and you look at everything that's happening now, you could find yourself working for a lot longer than you originally intended, and could end up being very, very poor. It's not a great thought. This is a lesson to anybody that's young, and I never took this lesson myself. If you're looking at this from the outside looking in, you need to start thinking about it. Start putting things away in preparation for the day where you want to stop working, because no one's going to look after you. I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day. He's 56, 57, so a little bit older than me, and he's actually convinced that his is going to be the last generation that might benefit fully from the state pension. And he could be right. When you talk about means testing and everything else, you wonder what they're creeping in. Another comment here, Barry Wood. From what I have found out, they wouldn't claim the heating allowance from pensioners until their heating allowances have been signed off. Just makes you think. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's all a sequence of events. It's like mission creep, isn't it? And you put all the pieces together, and it really leaves a bad taste. Andrew, I've just got to pension age and got a bus pass. Car is off the road. Had to go to doctor's appointment. It's too far to walk. I used bus pass for the first time. Yeah, I mean, a car is an expense, isn't it? You've got the car, you've got the insurance, you've got the fuel, you've got everything else. I know I'm teaching you to suck eggs here, but when you get to a certain point, do you need the car or do you need to cut back? I had a wonderful comment from somebody the other day who explained to me that they'd been planning for their retirement for quite a while, and they downgraded their car from what they did have, so it was less juicy. They made certain financial arrangements and looked at their bills and everything, and it was okay. It was quite tidy. And then all of a sudden, bang. You never know what's around the corner. Clive, as we have spent years paying for our state pension, it's a right, not a benefit. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. All those national insurance contributions, you log on to the government gateway, the HMRC government gateway, it will give you a list of every year that you've paid, well, what you call your full stamp, really, year on year on year. And I think you've got to pay 35 years worth to entitle you to, and notice I use the word entitled you to a full state pension. Now they're calling it a benefit. I don't accept that, and neither should anybody else. Buses where I live are not reliable, Stephen Owers says. Yeah, I'll tell you what, we have a thing in our area called the Loop, and they're supposed to run every 15 minutes, and sometimes you can get two turn up at once. I think there's that problem in a lot of places, really, isn't there? I'm not sure where you live, Stephen, but I appreciate your comment. Shane, is it right, Clive? Then why must there be such? Yeah, if it's a right, Clive, then why must there be such a massive questionnaire? Yeah, you make a good point there, Shane, and also they say they want to encourage the upkeep of pension credit, and there's something like 200 odd questions over. In fact, 200 questions to do with this. It puts people off. Rob, Angela Rayner used to live in a council house, bought it and made 46 grand. Now wants us plebs not to have the same opportunity. You remember all that fracas with the council tax and capital gains tax and all the issues surrounding her and it and everything else. And it's just another example of the disparity between them and us, isn't it? It's mad. It's mad. Blood knows until the law is changed. Absolutely. Pete and Pete. Peter and Pete, the law states a single pensioner has to have a minimum of 218.15 to live on for food and utilities, not including housing costs or council tax. I mean, you have the state pension, you have housing benefit and all that sort of thing. I'm not quite sure how it works. I really don't with that regard. But you end up in that position. It's bad. Rachel, I have the same as you with blood pressure and thyroid problems. Yeah, thyroid problems, I was told, were more common to females than males. And I was quite taken aback. I had a big thing sticking out here, and it wrapped itself around my windpipe and constricted my breathing. So I had to have it all out and take thyroxine. I have to do that for the rest of my life. Jean-Marc, I think it's different in London. Andrew, anyone know? Yeah, that's another disparity, another video for another time, isn't it? A couple more comments, and then we'll wrap things up. But yes, if anybody comes across newspaper articles such as we've got here, uh, which I've shared with you this evening, or wants any news out, then feel free to tell me and I will out it. Clive Buckle, pension credit is not the state pension, it's a form of top up for low pensions or disabilities. Yeah, that's correct. Absolutely correct. You get the basic element, your state pension, and then depending on your circumstances, you can be entitled to pension credit, which is exactly right. It's a top up, and that is the one that's got, well, over 200 pages of questions. And it's not always clear cut with pension credit either. I want to show you a picture briefly that I had sent to me, and I've got permission to show this. There you go. Your pension credit application was not successful. And if you have a look down the bottom, it says you're getting $221.20 state pension a week. To get pension credit, your income must be less than $218.15. So for the sake of a couple of quid, you can actually lose out on an entitlement to pension credit. They have really got you squeezed. It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me this evening for this impromptu live. It wasn't very big notice I gave you, and I appreciate there's 425 of you watching right now, and a couple across on Facebook as well. I don't see the X numbers, so if anybody's on X, hello to you as well. I appreciate you joining me. Please hit the like button on this. It's important that news like this gets around. We need to discuss it. We need to hold these people to account, and we need them to know that we know what's going on. And the only way we can change things is by awareness and, holding these people's feet to the fire, really. And I will continue to do so along with other people. If you just joined us for the first time this evening and found this live stream, welcome. Please consider subscribing to the channel and joining the over 100,000 people that are here. I appreciate your support very much. Share me on your social media, particularly news like this. It needs to get out. And I will be back tomorrow with more stuff. And until then, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.